Hey everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive. You know we love to explore new topics, and today we're taking a deep dive into the world of learning English.
Ooh, I love this topic.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
It's so fascinating, and we have some really rich material from you guys.
Yeah, you guys sent in some incredible stuff, so thank you for that.
I think we're going to unearth some real gems for you today.
For sure. And, I always like to start with the why.
The why.
Yeah, like why is learning English such a big deal?
Well, I think a lot of people listening probably know that English is spoken all over the world.
Right, it's kind of the global language.
Yeah, it truly is, and for good reason. I mean, just think about this. A recent study from no less than the Harvard Business Review showed that English is used in over 90% of international business transactions.
Wow, 90%, that's huge.
It's massive. So we're talking about real opportunities.
So it's not just ordering a coffee while you're on vacation in
Exactly.
Italy. It's real deal stuff.
It's about unlocking your potential
Love that.
on a global scale.
That's a good way to put it.
And something that came up time and time again in the research,
What's that?
people are struggling with learning English.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's so common to be afraid to make mistakes, especially when you're first starting out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can definitely relate to that.
And then on top of that, you're busy.
Oh, tell me about it sometimes. Just finding 10 minutes to do anything is impossible.
Exactly. So staying consistent with your practice is tough.
And then, you open up your phone or you go on the internet and there's just a million apps and websites and books and podcasts. It's like,
Information overload.
it is. I mean, where do you even begin?
It can be incredibly discouraging.
So how do we deal with these roadblocks? I mean, right.
Oh, absolutely.
What do we do?
Well, first of all, we need to reframe how we think about mistakes.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as failures, what if we saw them as feedback?
Hmm.
Every mistake you make is actually an opportunity to refine your skills.
So like instead of beating myself up for messing up,
Exactly.
I should be celebrating.
You got it.
Okay, I like that.
It's a stepping stone to fluency.
What's a mindset shift?
For sure. And as for staying consistent, the key is to set small goals.
Small goals.
Don't try to do an hour every day. Start with 10 minutes, maybe 15.
Okay, that feels much more doable.
And gradually increase it over time.
Okay, so small steps.
Small, consistent steps lead to big results.
Right, like those little drops of water that
Exactly.
like fell up the bucket.
You got it.
Okay, I'm with you. And what about the whole resource overload?
The million different apps.
Yeah, how do we choose?
Don't try to use all of them. Just focus on quality over quantity.
Okay.
Think about how you learn best. Are you a visual learner?
I think I might be.
Maybe try some interactive apps or videos.
Okay.
If you're more auditory, maybe podcasts or audiobooks.
So it's about being intentional.
Exactly. Choose a few resources that really align with your learning style.
That makes a lot of sense.
And once you have your resources, we can start talking about some strategies for success.
Ooh, yes. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, like how do we actually learn?
Well, one of the best things you can do is immerse yourself in the language.
Okay, so like watching movies and listening to music.
Yes, but it's more than just passive listening.
Okay, so I have to do more than just have it on in the background while I fold laundry.
Exactly. Try to actively engage with the material, like take notes on a podcast.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or look up the lyrics to a song.
Okay, so active immersion.
Exactly.
And something I saw in one of the articles you sent was this technique called shadowing.
Oh, yeah. Shadowing is a really great technique.
What is that?
Basically, you listen to a native speaker,
Okay.
like on a podcast or audiobook,
Uh-huh.
and you try to repeat exactly what they say,
So like word for
word, mimicking their rhythm and intonation.
So I'm like their shadow.
You got it.
Okay, I like that. What are the benefits of that?
Well, for one, it can really help with your pronunciation,
Okay.
but it also forces you to pay attention to those little nuances of spoken English.
The stuff that's not in the textbooks.
Exactly.
I see. So we've got immersion and shadowing. What other strategies can you share with us?
One of the most valuable things you can do is find opportunities to have real conversations in English.
Okay, so like getting a language partner or joining a conversation group.
Yeah, that's a great way to practice what you've learned.
So it's about putting it all together.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about writing? Is that important too?
Oh, absolutely. Writing can really help solidify your grammar and vocabulary.
Interesting. How so?
When you're writing, you have to think more deliberately about sentence structure
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
and word choice, so it's like a puzzle.
Right. You have to make all the pieces fit together.
You got it.
Okay. So how can we incorporate writing into our English learning?
You can start by keeping a journal in English.
A journal.
Yeah, write about your day or your thoughts or even just make lists.
So I don't have to be writing like a novel or anything.
Nope, even short bursts of writing can be helpful.
Okay, so like journaling or writing comments online.
Exactly. The key is to find ways to express yourself in writing regularly.
And you know, one of the things that really stood out to me in the research you sent was all the inspiring stories
Yeah.
of people who have done incredible things
Amazing stuff.
by learning English.
It's not just about the language, it's about what you can do with it.
It unlocks possibilities.
It really does.
I'd love to hear about some of those stories. What really resonated with you?
Well, there was one story about a man from Brazil who was determined to advance his career,
Oh, wow.
but he had very limited English.
Okay.
And he really struggled at first.
I bet he felt all those things we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah, he was afraid to make mistakes. He felt overwhelmed by it all.
It's good to know that even people who become successful have those same feelings.
Everyone starts somewhere.
That's encouraging. So what happened to this man from Brazil? How did he overcome all that?
Well, he decided to really commit. He made time to practice every single day, even if it was just for 15 minutes.
Wow, so he took that small steps advice to heart.
He did. And he started listening to English podcasts during his commute,
Oh, that's a good idea.
watching English movies with subtitles.
Okay.
He even joined an online conversation group.
Oh, wow, so he was putting himself out there.
He was, and it paid off.
Well, we've got to hear what happened. Tell us.
Give us a minute, we'll tell you all about it.
Right after the break.
Back in a flash. So he landed his dream job.
He did.
He did.
Wow, that's incredible.
It really is. It's a testament to the power of perseverance.
And the transformative impact that learning English can have.
Exactly. It's not just about acquiring a skill. It's about unlocking a world of possibilities.
It's about empowering yourself.
Yes, to connect with people, pursue your passions, create a life that you want.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
It is.
And it illustrates perfectly what we've been saying all along. Learning English opens doors.
It does. It opens doors to opportunities that might otherwise be out of reach.
It's like giving yourself a key.
That's a great way to put it, a key to a whole new world.
Okay, so we talked about immersion, shadowing, conversation practice. Are there any other strategies that you found to be effective, especially from the materials that you reviewed?
You know, one technique that I think is often overlooked is incorporating physical activity.
Physical activity.
Yeah, like going for a run while you listen to an English podcast.
Okay, so moving my body while I'm learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's actually some really interesting research on the link between movement and language learning.
Really?
Yeah, studies have shown that even simple movements like gesturing with your hands while you speak or walking while you recite vocabulary words can actually help you remember things better.
Wow, so it's not just about sitting at a desk with a textbook.
Nope, get your body involved.
Okay, so like what kind of physical activities?
Anything that gets you moving and engages your senses.
Okay.
You could try role-playing different scenarios while you walk around your room or acting out verbs with your body.
I love that. Make it dynamic.
Exactly, make it fun.
So we've talked about a lot of different strategies, but what about technology? I know we've touched on apps and websites, but are there any specific tools or platforms that you found to be particularly helpful for your students or even in your own learning journey?
Oh, there are so many amazing language learning tools available now.
I know it's kind of overwhelming.
It is, but one platform that I always recommend is Duolingo.
Duolingo.
I think a lot of people have heard of it.
I've heard of it.
It's got these really interactive lessons, and it gives you personalized feedback.
And it's kind of like a game, right?
Yeah, it's gamified, so it keeps you motivated.
I like that.
Yeah, and there's Babbel,
Babbel?
another great one.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one too.
It's really about finding what works for you.
Right, because not everyone learns in the same way.
Exactly. Some people are visual learners, some are auditory learners, and some are kinesthetic learners.
So it's about being self-aware.
Absolutely. And paying attention to what works best for you.
Okay, so that brings me back to those inspiring stories.
This
Yeah, you mentioned the man from Brazil who landed his dream job, but were there any other stories that really resonated with you?
You know, there was another story that I thought was really powerful about a young woman from Japan who dreamed of becoming a filmmaker.
Oh, wow, filmmaking.
Yeah, and she realized that to really pursue her passion on a global scale, she needed to master English.
I could see how that would be essential. Filmmaking is such a collaborative field.
Absolutely, and she was really dedicated to achieving her goal.
What kind of challenges did she face?
Well, listening comprehension was a big one for her.
Oh, yeah, that's a common one.
She could read and write in English fairly well, but understanding spoken English, especially in fast-paced conversations, was really tough.
So it's one thing to learn the grammar and vocabulary, but it's another thing entirely to decipher all the idioms and slang and
Accents.
accents.
It's a whole other level.
So how did she overcome that hurdle?
Well, she decided to immerse herself in the world of English language films.
Okay, so watching movies.
Yeah, she started with subtitles, but then she gradually transitioned to watching without them.
Oh, wow. So she was really challenging herself.
She was, and it wasn't easy, but she was determined.
What about real-life conversations?
Oh, she made sure to get those too.
How would she do that?
She started attending film festivals and networking events where she could talk to filmmakers from all over the world.
So she was combining her passion for filmmaking with her desire to improve her English.
Exactly. She was smart about it.
And what happened? Did it work?
It did. Within a few years, she had significantly improved her English, and she had made some really valuable connections in the film industry.
I bet.
She ended up landing a job as an assistant director on an international film project.
No way.
Yes way.
That is incredible. What a story.
It's amazing what you can accomplish when you set your mind to it.
It's about finding what works for you, staying persistent, and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly. Everyone's journey is unique.
I love that message. This has been such an inspiring deep dive.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights with us.
It's been a pleasure, and remember, the world is waiting to hear your voice.
Beautifully said to our listener. We hope this deep dive has sparked your motivation and given you some practical tools to take your English to the next level. Remember, every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to fluency. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep exploring.
She started watching movies with subtitles, but then she gradually transitioned to watching without them.
Oh, wow. So she was really challenging herself.
She was, and it wasn't easy, but she was determined.
That's incredible. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been at times, but also how rewarding it must have felt as she started to understand more and more.
Exactly, it's a process.
It is so. Did she just watch movies, or did she do other things to improve her listening?
She didn't stop there. She also started attending film festivals and networking events.
Oh, wow. So she was really putting herself out there.
She knew that to really improve, she needed to have conversations with native speakers.
So she was combining her passion for filmmaking with her desire to improve her English.
Exactly, and it paid off.
Well, we've got to hear the end of the story. Did she achieve her dream?
She did. Within a few years, she had not only significantly improved her English, but she had also made some incredible connections in the film industry.
That's amazing.
It is, and she ended up landing a job as an assistant director on an international film project.
No way.
Yes way.
That is so inspiring.
It really is. It shows you what's possible when you set your mind to it and you're willing to put in the work.
It's about finding what works for you, staying persistent, and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly, and never giving up on your dreams.
I love that message. This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel so motivated.
I'm so glad.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. And to everyone listening, remember, the world is waiting to hear your voice.
That is such a beautiful thought and so true to our listener. We hope this deep dive has sparked your passion for learning English and given you some practical strategies to take your skills to the next level. Remember, every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to fluency. And as always, until next time, keep diving deep and keep exploring.